Why, hello and welcome everybody. It is Pohx again. So first off, I want to make an apology before I do anything because I had a really good video, but I had my mic muted for the 15 minutes that I went in detail doing it. So I'm gonna work the best with the materials I used. Anyway, so this is my first time ever creating a Trove guide for you guys. I guess technically second because it's a rerun. And I'm here to share my knowledge with you guys. I've been playing the game for about 5-6 days now or so, but I've learned quite a bit about it, and I tackle games in a different manner than most people would. So anyway, I'm here to bring crafting to you guys. I want to explain all about crafting and whatnot because I really feel it's very important that players understand how the gear works in this game, how the scaling of the gear works, what stats can be rolled where, what stats, etc., how you want to build your character, all of that kind of revolves around your gear. So I want to talk about a couple items today. One of them are resources. One of them I would have, but I don't because I used it in the last video, which was muted, which is a Pearl of Wisdom, which I'll go into later. So first off, just to go over the resources we're going to be going over here, we're going to have Flux, which is your main resource, which is found all around the world. If you need to know how to make Flux, all you got to do, for example, is go to your deconstructor, put in a piece of gear, and you can turn it into Flux. So that's the first one. Second resource is called the Tentacle of Capacipo. Now the tentacle can be found numerous ways. As you saw right there when I put my my shadow weapon inside, shadow gear can be deconstructed for Tentacles of Capacipo, or you can run shadow arenas, which are in Ubers 1 through 5, and they also have a chance of giving you a Tentacle of Capacipo. Next you have Eye of Kipo Kappa, which can be found by deconstructing shadow and rainbow pieces, and I believe they can be found in Shadow Arena as well. I could be incorrect on that one. I'm not sure on. So just to go into them more, I apologize. The tentacle is used for re-rolling. The tentacle is used for re-rolling the actual stats themselves, and the eye is used for re-rolling the stat values. Next up, we're going to talk about a perfect prism, which is used to upgrade the tier of an item. So the tiers would go, let's see, I think it goes green, blue, purple, orange, and then you have, well, I don't want to say the actual things, I don't know the name. Then you have red, then there's rainbow, and then there's shadow. We're pretty much going to be talking about rainbow and shadow in this video. So you can use a perfect prism to upgrade a rainbow item into a shadow. So let's talk about gear now. This video is going to exclude accessories. That's something separate. This weapon originally was Forged 2, had 3 stats, and I was going to show you all about crafting it up. Sadly, like I said, the video went So anyway, typically gear has 3 stats on it. The way to add a 4th stat is by using something called a Pearl of Wisdom. Pearls of Wisdom can be found from fighting very high-end the random mobs that come from the sky and they can shoot down. It's very rare to drop. I have actually never found one. Or you can buy them with credits, or you can buy them with qubits from the cash shop, or you can just trade in game for them. That's another option. And they're used to add a 4th stat, which is a 50% chance to roll the stat that you want, which will be explained later on. So how do you go about your gear? Well, let's go with this. Because the most common question is probably, when should I start upgrading my gear? How do I know what gear to upgrade? For what reasons? So I'm going to bring up a little wiki for you guys, which I will link in the description below. And the wiki is right here for you guys. So let's look at a face slot, for example. The way this works is you have 4 stats maximum on a piece of gear. On your piece of gear, like stated before, you can have a maximum of 4 properties to my knowledge. Each stat falls under a category. So stat 1 is max health. Stat 2 is either attack speed, movement speed, or health regeneration. Stat 3 is magic damage, physical damage, maximum health percentage, stability, or jump. Stat 4 shares the same thing as Stat 2, which is the Pearled stat, meaning that's the 4th stat you add on, which will only be able to apply 2 of the 3 since you already have 1 already. So say you have attack speed, you'll have a 50% chance of rolling movement speed or health regeneration. So now that that's out of the way, I want to go ahead and explain how you know when to start upgrading a piece of gear. So all of my gear is maxed right now. It's Forge 25, which is the highest you can get. It's really easy to, I guess you could say, figure out when you should start upgrading an item. So there's a couple things you want to go with. A, it has the stats you're looking for, the 3 stats you're looking for. So say the piece of gear has jump, health, and attack speed or something like that, right? And you like that piece of gear and it's rainbow or shadow, start forging it. There's nothing wrong with it. The only thing I would say to do is, if you look at my gear, it's forge 25. Typically, gear will have anywhere from like forge 2 to 5. It really depends on your magic find here. But the higher the forge level, the less flux you're going to end up spending. So a high forge level could save you like 400 or 500 plus flux very easily on your pieces of gear. So the next thing I want to talk about essentially is like the scaling of your gear, because it becomes astronomical in terms of how much it actually benefits you. So I'm going to pull out a gun here. Right here you can see it's 353 magic damage, forge 5. It's probably a mid/low tier because it doesn't have any asterisks on it, which we'll explain here shortly. And I'm going to go ahead and just change my gunslinger really fast and look at my gun here. My gun is a 2-star, which means it's in a very high bracket of damage. You can see it's double the damage of the 5 forge compared to this one. It's a pretty huge, it's an astronomical difference. So the next thing I want to go into is explaining the stat values. So I'm going to waste some currency here because this was already done the previous one, and I'm going to explain a little bit of how this works. So step 1 is rolling the stats that you want. So let's go ahead and pull off a... Is there anything I actually want to roll? I don't think there is, so I'm just going to pull off something randomly. Guess I'll pull off this mask right here, and I'll go to the forge, and I'll put the mask on. So in here, you can see the stats that I have. I have maximum health, health regeneration, jump, and attack speed, and that's exactly what I want. The only thing I could replace is this jump could be placed with physical damage and or magical damage. So I'm going to randomize the stat right now, and you can see what it rolled. It rolled health, movement speed, stability, and health regeneration. Now I don't want those stats, so I'm just gonna, that's it. I just take it off. You can either re-roll it again with randomize, or you can lock the stats in. But I don't want the stats, so I'm just going to cancel it, and it stays with the stats that it had. Now the reason why this is important to note is, when you find that piece of gear you have with those 3 stats you want, when you add your Pearl of Wisdom on, if it's not the stat you want, you're going to have to re-roll the stat anyway. So it doesn't matter if you're re-rolling it now or you're re-rolling it after. It's okay to level the forge, because your forge is just by itself. Like, it's just going to scale whatever stats it is that you have on it. Next up is re-rolling the numerical values of the piece of gear. So I'm going to go ahead and let's put on, my face is already on, let's take off our weapon, and let's go to our Chaos Forge and look at, whoop, what are you doing in there? There we go. Let's look at our weapon. So now we're going to use our eye to re-roll the stats. So like I said before, the 1-star and 2-star, I believe a 1-star is rolling anywhere between the top 75 to 80 percentile, and I think 2-star is like 90 percentile. What that means is, say a piece of gear rolls anywhere from 5 to 600 health. If it's the top 75 percentile, and that's considered 1-star, if it rolled 575 life, that would be the top percentile, and then 590 would be a 2-star. I don't know the exact numerical values, that you guys might have to look up on your own. But just note that a lot of people on the forums and the Reddit say that you need to have this being, my gear is 5-star, it's 4-star, etc. Frankly, it really doesn't matter what star your gear is. Think of it like this. If you're a 1-star gear, but you're literally 1% below a 2-star, it's really good. If you have 4 stats and each stat is 1% value below a 1-star, it's still pretty good. I'm letting you know that from now. So let's go ahead and reroll my weapon. As you can see, it rolled negative of everything. Negative, negative, negative. So here it rolled a really good health regen roll and 3 attack speed. But we don't want that because we're going to lose a lot of fizz damage and a lot of health. Here it rolled a pretty fair thing. It rolled 30 life, 3 attack speed. I lose 7 fizz damage. Losing 7 fizz damage dropped me a star. A very minor amount dropped me an entire star. Here we're gaining 200 health regen, which is a very big amount, which gives a double star, but I lose too many other stats. So you can see there kind of how rerolling works, and remember, you can lock in the stats if you want to take those. Alright, so now that that's done, we've pretty much covered the basics of how you go about doing it. The next thing to talk about is the perfect prism. Excuse me. So the way the perfect prism works is, say you get a rainbow piece of gear with the stats that you want, and you start forging it and you don't want it to go to waste. Well, you can just use a perfect prism on it and upgrade it to shadow, and boom, it's a shadow piece now, and you have everything that you want. So that's pretty much a basic guide about crafting. I do apologize if I left some stuff out. The last one was a lot more detailed, but it kind of sucks. It's hard for me to like redo something when I already did it once. Remember, if you guys have any questions at all by any means, please just drop them down below, and I'll do my best to answer them. Remember, you can follow me on my Twitter at twitter.com/pohxx, and you can subscribe to me on YouTube if you enjoy the content. Furthermore, I think that's it actually. Furthermore, wait 1 second because I feel like I just left something out. Oh yeah. Furthermore, the last thing I want to talk about on stats, I should have said this before, I'm all like jumbled up right now, is the last thing, which is it's really important to know the tiers of your stats, like to know what category they fall into, which, like I said on this wiki, because if you don't know what stats you can roll where, how are you going to know what your endgame build is going to be like? How are you going to know like where you can roll health, where you can roll life regen, what stat is replacing what? And that's why I feel it's really important for players to know this. But anyway, like I said, I've been going on rambling on too much. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll make sure to make much more detailed and professional videos later, because this one is just all mumble and jumbled because fucking I lost the last one. But anyway, hope you guys have a great time. Hope to see you guys tomorrow. Feel free to thumbs up the video if you enjoy it, and take care, everybody.